How's it going, everyone? It's Eli with Common Sense, and thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you are having a fantastic day and a fantastic week. Lately, Zara has been really stepping up their game by teaming up with a lot of master perfumers and creating some amazing high-quality fragrances. So you've got a really cool, affordable brand like Zara teaming up with some of the greatest minds in perfumery, ultimately creating the perfect blend of value and quality. So today we're going to be looking at 4 fragrances from Zara. So let's check it out. So this first fragrance on this list is Zara's Rose Gourmand, and this is one for the ladies, and as you can see it says feminine and empowered, a fresh rose elevated by the luscious duo of vanilla and tonka. So really excited to check this one out. I smelled the tester and it really smelled kind of familiar, and I want to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So this one's got a really cool kind of upright skinny bottle with a nice kind of golden cap on the top. It's not super high quality, not real heavy, but it definitely does the trick and you can pick it up by the cap. So that's definitely a positive. Let's check out the atomizer. That's pretty decent. Oh man, this stuff smells incredible. So immediately when I smell this in the air, it kind of reminds me of a cross between Parfums de Marly's Delina Exclusive and also Montal's Ristretto Intense Cafe. So that kind of cafe rose inspired fragrance with a nice dose of vanilla. So this one's got a real simple note breakdown. It has vanilla, carnation, jasmine, caramel, and rose. So immediately off the top, I get an amazing rose and vanilla. Again, like I said, it reminds me of Delina Exclusive and maybe something like Montal's Roses Vanille. So definitely a nice kind of cross between those, but ultimately it's a really pleasing rose without smelling too dated or too mature. It's a very pleasing and gourmand rose with a really nice vanilla caramel twist. I also get quite a bit of musk in this one, and to some people online they say that the musk in here smells extremely synthetic, and to my nose I think it actually smells really pleasant, and I don't get that kind of screechy headache like some people were saying online, because there is quite a bit of sweetness from that jammy kind of rose and vanilla and the caramel too, but I think that this is done really tastefully and it's not super overly sweet, at least to my nose. The vanilla in here kind of reminds me of a vanilla extract and almost like a custard like vanilla, as someone else pointed out on Fragrantica. So it smells like you're baking something with vanilla and you also got a healthy dose of that rose and caramel. In the dry down, I almost want to say that I get a bit of a chocolatey musk vibe. So there wasn't any chocolate in here, but it gives me that kind of dark, kind of gourmand, slightly powdery vibe that you get with something like kind of a powdered chocolate. And there's also a little bit of a marshmallow vanilla gourmand vibe going on too. So it's very sweet, it's very seductive, and it's perfect for a woman who wants something very similar to that kind of rose and vanilla kind of DNA from something like maybe Delina or Delina Exclusive. So that musk really plays nicely with that kind of chocolatey vanilla vibe. It just smells like a really powdery, almost like a dessert, but again, with that really pleasing kind of jammy rose and that really nice feminine touch. Definitely feminine leading. I think as long as you're confident, you can pull this off, and I am tempted to wear this one too. Because I know how much my mom loves Delina, I also showed this to her and I told her I'd give her this bottle once I'm done reviewing it. So she was super excited and she could not believe how amazing it smelled, especially for like the $36 that it cost. So this is really a hidden gem. So this one you can expect around 10 hours of longevity. So this stuff is extremely potent. You maybe need 2 or 3 sprays because it lasts a really long time and you do have that really nice scent bubble around you for at least a few hours. So this one is extremely nice. And that's Zara's Rose Gourmand. So this next fragrance I was really excited to try because this one is based on the note of vetiver, and I love vetiver. This is Zara's Lush Vetiver, and it's got top notes of grapefruit and bergamot with middle notes of saffron and vetiver and a base of tobacco, patchouli, and oak. So this fragrance was actually created by Gael Montero. So he was the nose behind Fragrance du Bois' Cavort and Memo Paris's Madurai. I think that's how you say it, but a lot of really interesting fragrances created by this master perfumer. I believe he's kind of relatively new, but he's got some amazing fragrances under his belt, and I can't wait to dig into this one. As you can see, this one's 36 bucks, and it also has a hidden note on the back that says, "Feel the gentleness and refinement of an inviting ambery embrace, created by Gael Montero." That's actually really interesting. I was not expecting it to take this kind of turn. I was expecting something similar, maybe to Tom Ford's Gray Vetiver, but this is in a league of its own. So like the name suggests, you get a blast of fresh and refreshing bergamot and citruses up top with a really interesting kind of earthy vetiver. So that vetiver can come off a little bit wheat-like, but I think here it's a little bit acidic and it's a little bit almost kind of grass-like. So very tart and grassy. I think this would be a perfect spring or fall fragrance. So definitely perfect for the kind of transitional seasons once it's like not crazy cold or not crazy hot, just kind of in that between time. That smells expensive. Some people have compared this to Roja's Iola Blue and Roja Elysium. I own Elysium and I have smelled Iola Blue, but I think it tends to lean a little bit more towards the Iola Blue. It's got some of the aspects from both of those, but maybe it's just the grapefruit and the vetiver. But definitely this one is a vetiver forward fragrance with a bright, fresh kind of citrus opening. I feel like the grapefruit is definitely dominant up top, especially with the vetiver, and I think the saffron also is sort of a supporting role. I don't get a whole lot of the spice just yet, and I'm hoping it kind of dries down to something more spicy and a little bit more dark, especially because of the tobacco and the patchouli. Very green. I almost feel like I get a green tea or like a petitgrain note as well on the top, but definitely very green, herbaceous, and citrus heavy. In the dry down, I think the vetiver definitely starts to smell a little bit more smoky, and the saffron does come out a little bit while staying a little bit herbaceous. This has also got a really dark and kind of powdery base too, especially from the saffron and the kind of patchouli. So the saffron comes off a little bit leather-like, and it just smells like a soapy kind of floral leather with some kind of dark powdery vibes as well. But I think the dry down definitely smells better than the opening. I feel like I get a little bit of that petitgrain or the tea still in the dry down, but I can definitely see some of the comparisons to the Roja fragrances, but I think this smells a little bit darker and a little bit smokier in the base. It's also quite woody in the dry down. It almost reminds me of the dry down of Tom Ford's Oud Wood because it's very creamy. It's got a really delicate oud and just a nice kind of vetiver twist to it, but I think this one is extremely nice for this fall season, and in the colder weather, I think this is going to project wonderfully and it's going to just radiate off your skin amazingly. Yeah, I really dig this dry down. I did like the opening. I thought it was pleasant. Maybe not my favorite, but I think this dry down is amazing. Just a slightly leathery, creamy vetiver with a bit of musk and greens to it. In terms of longevity, you're probably going to expect around 7 hours or so out of this one. You may want to spray a little bit more because some of the lighter notes up top can kind of fizzle off a little bit quicker, but it definitely does have a base that does kind of stay strong, and you can still smell this at least 4 hours after you spray it. I picture somebody wearing like a flannel or maybe like a sweater when they're wearing this one, so this is perfect for the fall season, and I think anybody can wear this, guys or girls. It's definitely a little bit more masculine, but if you like that kind of dark vetiver, I think this is definitely something that you'll like. I don't think you can go wrong with this one, and that is Zara's Lush Vetiver. The next one is also created by Gail Montero, and this one is Zara's Tender Amber. I sprayed a tester in the store and immediately I knew that I had to buy this one. This one's got a really powerful atomizer. And a blast of fruity muskiness. But this one's got top notes of rose, tuberose, and fruits, and a base of black currant and amber. So pretty simple note breakdown. And I gotta say, this is a delightful twist on Xerjoff's Herba Pura, and it smells a little bit like Tiziana Terenzi's Kirke. I really love the dry down of Kirke, but there's something in the opening that's just very headache inducing for me. I think it's just the fruits and that extremely powerful musk note, but I gotta say, this one kind of has that really interesting musk, but it does it in a slightly different way. Though the musk is very strong, I think it's still toned down versus this one, and I actually prefer this one. On the back it says, "A dive into the untamed beauty of nature to ignite the senses and inspire the soul," created by Gail Montero. So this one does not have a metallic magnetic cap. This is just a plastic cap, very lightweight, that just kind of sits on the top. Kind of forgot to mention that on the last one, but you can kind of see it. So this definitely smells familiar. It smells like Xerjoff's Herba Pura, but it has a unique twist to that one with a dose of amber and black currant. Black currant smells very aquatic. It's a little bit green and a little bit fruity with a slightly minty vibe as well. I also feel like I kind of get a blast of ambroxan alongside the amber, and it gives it just a very fresh and fruity and aromatic kind of take to that Herba Pura DNA. I also feel like there's definitely a bit of cologne or some other kind of marine-like aroma chemicals in here, but ultimately you're getting a mouth-watering fruit here with an incredible musk. Like I said, the black currant definitely comes off a little bit minty, but it smells like fruits, mint, and musk. So very clean, slightly soapy, and a little bit herbaceous, but I absolutely love how this one smells and on the clothes. The more that I actually smell this, it kind of reminds me of Orto Parisi's Megamere and also the Fragrance World A Chaos in the Ocean clone. So that one smells amazing, and this kind of has that same sort of vibe where it's very salty, fruity, and aromatic. In the dry down, the amber and the musk definitely comes out a lot more, and it still has that kind of fruity vibe, but it smells ultra pleasing and it's not overwhelming. Like I said, some of the other ones, this just smells extremely pleasant, and I imagine this would be perfect for an office-friendly scent. And I've actually sprayed this on myself and it's lasted 10 to 12 hours on my clothing and my skin. So this one is probably one of the greatest performers out of all the Zara fragrances, and I just love how it smells when it kind of wafts up to my nose and I smell that musk and the fruits. This stuff is amazing, and I think anybody can wear this. It doesn't lean too feminine, not too masculine. I think it's very fruity and musky, but if you like that kind of vibe, get this one without hesitation. This is easily one of my favorites from the brand, and that's Zara's Tender Amber. And last but not least is one of their newest releases, and this was actually created by the master perfumer Alberto Morillas. So Alberto Morillas created this one and all of the 3 fragrances in the Zara Oud line, and Alberto Morillas is one of the greatest noses in perfume, and he created the original Acqua di Gio, fragrances for Amouage, Bulgari, by Kilian, Gucci, and the list goes on. So I was able to check out the testers in the store, and I loved how Elevated Oud smelled. However, when I purchased this and I opened this box up, though the label said Elevated Oud, it actually came with Virtuous Oud. So I was a little bit let down because I was expecting that kind of oud, the cardamom, vanilla, and praline from the Elevated Oud, but we're gonna check this one out and judge it on its own. Maybe I'm gonna like this one even more than the Elevated Oud. We'll see. So the fragrances in the Oud line are a little bit more expensive. They're about $40, and I don't know why, but this font that says a perfume by Alberto Morillas, it kind of looks like it's a memorial, like in memory of Alberto Morillas. I don't know why. So this one's got a very sturdy blue kind of rectangular bottle, and it's got a really interesting kind of plastic cap on it. It almost looks like the same caps that you'd find on the Carolina Herrera clones. It's got that kind of hexagonal shape to it. Definitely got a nice kind of weight to it. This one has top notes of cologne, lemon, bergamot, with middle notes of florals, lavender, oud, ambroxan, and white musk, with the base of vetiver, sandalwood, and patchouli. That's actually quite different than I remember it smelling in the store. I'm actually liking this more the more that I smell it. So immediately when I smelled this one, it kind of reminded me of Acqua di Gio Profumo and maybe the Acqua di Gio Parfum, kind of a hybrid between those two. And I definitely pick up on that cologne up top. It's very airy and aromatic and has that slightly melon-like kind of fruity aquatic freshness to it. I don't think the oud's coming out just yet, but I have a feeling like it's gonna peak around the corner in the dry down. Up top, you have a very peppery kind of citrus, and it does smell very bright, but again, that kind of cologne makes it smell extremely aquatic, kind of mouth-watering, and the citruses just smell really yellow and fresh. It's also got a little bit of a peppered wood, so maybe that oud is starting to kind of come out, but it's not a very animalistic oud, it's a fresh oud, which is kind of interesting because you don't see that a lot in the oud fragrances. I also feel like there could be some rosemary or some really kind of dark green, herbaceous, slightly peppery notes in here that make it smell a little bit spicy, probably from that saffron too. The lavender definitely smells a little bit herbal, it smells a little bit kind of medicinal, but I think it smells extremely citrusy and really, really pleasing. So when I first smelled this in the store, I kind of turned my nose up at it because it reminded me of Acqua di Gio, and though it's a timeless DNA, you can kind of smell it everywhere, and I've just grown really tired of that kind of DNA. It's really nice, but it's really just not for me anymore. Why am I getting so attached to a perfume that I hated at first? This is quite nice. In the dry down, it definitely settles to a more ambroxan and oud heavy kind of fragrance, and it definitely becomes much more dark and moody. I think you still can smell some of that lavender because it smells a little bit peppery, a little bit herbal and medicinal, but I think it becomes a lot darker and it smells almost like a high-end Italian designer fragrance, which definitely fits the style of Alberto Morillas. And I just really love how this changes and you get a more smoky oud and that just really pleasing vetiver that smells a little bit creamy, but ultimately it's peppery, it's a salty oud with a nice musky base to it. The saffron and patchouli give it a more powdery and kind of well-balanced base to it as well. I'm actually gonna wear this probably all week. I could definitely see this one as a summer and fall kind of office fragrance if you want something sweet and kind of fresh with a little bit of that kind of lavender oud combination. This you can expect to last about 7 to 8 hours, and depending on how many sprays you use, it can last a lot longer. So I'm gonna definitely wear this more on skin and report back on the projection, the longevity, but that's kind of what I was hearing online. Really, really pleasing stuff here. And that is Zara's Virtuous Oud by Alberto Morillas. So there you have it, 4 Zara fragrances that I picked up. Some of them are new. I think the Rose Gourmand was a little bit older of a release, but I decided to pick it up nonetheless. And I gotta say, Tender Amber and Virtuous Oud are my favorites. I think you really just need those 2 to cover all your seasons. So you got a sweet and fresh kind of citrus fragrance for your spring and summertime. And you also get the smoky yet clean, mature oud and lavender fragrance for the fall and the winter. So those 2 are my recommendations. So let me know in the comments down below if you have any Zara fragrances that you'd recommend or any hidden gems that you really love from them. They definitely have some amazing fragrances. I really haven't hated any of these. There's really just been fragrances that really step up and that really catch my attention. So haven't hated any, just really love to select a few. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful week and that you feel loved this week. And I have been Eli with Common Sense. Until the next time, bye-bye. And as you can see, it says La Carte Chanel. I'm not going to read that.